Hello, it is Saturday the 20th of December 2025, and tonight a series of serious developments at home and abroad, from a murder investigation in London and a major safeguarding case in the West Midlands to new scrutiny of NHS gender services, fresh controversy over the Epstein files, and growing questions over government transparency. My name is Katie, and these are your news headlines. Support honest journalism. Make sure you like, leave a comment and subscribe. No bias, no bullshit, only the facts. Police have launched a murder investigation after a 55-year-old man was shot dead in London. Officers were called to the scene at around 25 to 10 last night, the 19th, following reports of a shooting. Emergency first aid was given, but the man died at the scene. Detective Chief Inspector Neil John from the Met's Specialist Crime Team said enquiries are underway and the officers are working at pace to establish what happened. Patrols have been increased in the area, and detectives are urging anyone with information or dashcam footage to come forward. You can come forward with any information via the Met's website. 4 men are facing significant prison sentences after a 16-year-old girl was subjected to repeated rapes in what detectives described as a prolonged and traumatic ordeal. The young girl was approached in Birmingham and later taken to a number of locations across the West Midlands and Greater Manchester areas, where she was repeatedly abused. She bravely reported what had happened to police. A jury has now convicted those 4 men of a range of serious offences linked to her abuse, and they have been remanded in custody ahead of sentencing due next March. Police praised the teenager's courage in coming forward and reminded the public that survivors of sexual assault are protected by lifelong anonymity, and people are encouraged to come forward via calling 999 or via the police's website. A major review of adult gender dysphoria clinics in England has found what it describes as unacceptable waiting times and significant gaps in safety and quality data. The operational review, commissioned by NHS England and led by Dr. David Levy, found exceptionally long waits, unclear national waiting list figures, and inconsistent quality reporting, with little or no outcomes data. It also highlighted wide variations in productivity and concerns about leadership, governance, and oversight. The review concludes that the services carry a high level of risk and calls for a system-wide response, including a new National Quality Improvement Programme and a National Oversight Board. In the United States, the Justice Department has released thousands of heavily redacted documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein. The material makes only limited reference to President Donald Trump, but includes extensive photographs and documents involving former President Bill Clinton. The release also contained a 1996 complaint accusing Epstein of involvement in child sexual abuse material, which the complainant says the FBI failed to act on. Many of the files were almost entirely blacked out, and the Justice Department says hundreds of thousands of pages are still under review. Lawmakers from both parties criticised the release for failing to include internal Justice Department emails and reports required under the disclosure law. The White House said the publication demonstrated transparency, though critics noted it only occurred because Congress mandated it. Don't miss the next bulletin. Subscribe, like and comment today. No bias, no bullshit, just straight reporting. In Oklahoma, an attorney for one of the survivors sexually assaulted by Mack Butler is seeking to challenge the plea agreement that spared him prison time. Butler, now aged 18, was convicted of raping 2 high school students but received a youthful offender sentence involving community service and counselling. No prison time. The survivor's lawyer, Rachel Bussett, has filed a motion citing Marsy's law, arguing that victims were not given proper notice of the plea agreement, were not able to review evidence, and were denied the opportunity to be heard. She said her client is coping as best she can, but that her childhood was stolen from her. Prosecutors have defended their handling of the case, and further legal filings are expected. It is important to remember that Butler strangled, allegedly, his victims, with at least one of them almost passing out and having to receive surgery on her neck. In other words, he almost strangled her to death. And all he got was community service, counselling, I think there was a curfew, and a social media ban. And his dad happens to be a high-profile sports coach in the area. Over in Germany, a convicted far-right activist who changed gender shortly before a prison sentence is now attempting to change legal identity again while evading arrest. Marla Svenja Liebig, formerly known as Sven Liebig, told Euronews they no longer wish to use their current legal identity and have applied for another change while on the run. Liebig was sentenced to 18 months in prison last year for incitement to hatred but failed to report to Chemnitz Women's Prison in August. An arrest warrant was issued and Liebig's whereabouts remain unclear. The case has fueled debate about potential misuse of Germany's Self-Determination Act, which allows gender changes without medical assessment. German intelligence services continue to classify Liebig as a right-wing extremist. Who would have thought that someone with a criminal mind may misuse a self-determination certificate, as in the same thing as a gender recognition certificate here in the UK? A group of 25 academics from leading British universities has argued that laws banning female genital mutilation may be harmful and risk stigmatising migrant communities. Writing in the Journal of Medical Ethics, they claim opposition to FGM often relies on sensationalist narratives and racialised stereotypes. The paper has rightly prompted strong criticism, with campaigners and politicians stressing that FGM is a human rights violation that causes severe and lasting harm. Claire Coutinho, the Shadow Equalities Minister, said the practice is mutilation and should be described as such. The British Medical Journal Group said the journal publishes a range of viewpoints and does not necessarily endorse the author's opinions. And finally, the Society of Editors has raised concerns about plans to reduce the level of scrutiny political journalists can apply to Downing Street. The organisation said cutting the long-standing system of twice-daily lobby briefings risks weakening transparency. Downing Street's Director of Communications, Tim Allen, said the afternoon briefing would be replaced in some cases by press conferences, which tend to involve fewer questions from selected reporters. Attendance will also be widened to include content creators. Journalists say the changes could restrict access and undermine scrutiny if the government controls the format and selection of questioners. A government spokesperson said daily lobby briefings would continue and that the aim was to reach the public in the ways they now consume information, while still being held accountable by traditional media. The Conservatives and Liberal Democrats have said they would restore afternoon briefings. I bet they have. They'll say anything when they're in opposition. Anywho, those are your news headlines for today, Saturday, 20th December 2025. I am Katie. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, come follow me on the social medias and Substack, and I will see you back here on Monday for your news headlines. If you want clear reporting you can trust, like, comment and subscribe. No bias, no bullshit, just the news you need.